2021 at 4:04 p.m. Mrs. Rutherford, would you like to lead the flag salute?
Sure will. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I feel like we've all had issues like that, right?
Thank you, Chris.
But we've made wonderful strides in the homeless sharing community.
Who is Margie McGlynn? If you could put yourself on mute, please.
Our founding so really excited.
All right, we got everybody muted now. Okay. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building on the borough website and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Ballmiller.
Here.
Dr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Rutherford.
Here.
Mayor Lambert.
Here.
I'm offering resolution number 70, 2021, authorizing an executive session to discuss items of personnel. I would like to go into a closed session with the mayor and council very quickly to discuss one appointment for tax collector for the borough of Beach Haven. I don't anticipate being in the closed session more than 10 minutes, and no formal action will be taken until we reconvene in the public session. Do I have a motion on 70, 2021?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, if the public could just be real patient with us, I'm going to put us into a breakout room, and it shouldn't be long.
Hey.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who am I missing? Bruce, Colleen, Dan, Jamie, Nancy.
Why am I so dark now? I can't. Wait a minute.
It is. Whatever. What else am I doing? Right?
Why am I so dark now? I can't take this. Okay.
I guess on a beach in the middle of like a beautiful ocean would be lovely, but
There you go.
yeah, I already live on one of those.
All right, guys.
Chris, that was an excellent Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Very strong.
I think it was solo, actually.
I know.
All right. I wanted to make this quick and answer any questions you might have. I've been working closely with Sherry Bowler, talking about the logistics of having her do double duty. This was a discussion we had when we first were looking to hire Matt.
Harry, I just had a text that everybody's hearing us.
Okay.
Yikes.
That's okay. I was gonna say that I was telling Chris, like, don't forget the pledge today. Again, my camera is so funky right now.
You need a little light over you. You need a little TikTok light, or like the light that Nancy has. I usually use that too. I like your light, Nancy.
Oh, it's great. Oh, the fan, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just heard that Jamie's not in the breakout room either.
That must be the issue why they can hear us.
Yeah, Jamie's not in.
But I was muted and now I'm muted, but I can't, I was complaining about, it's really dark, like I can't get my lighting correct. It's,
Yeah, we can't all right now.
I know, but I'm in my front room and it's blazing sun.
Wow.
Maybe James, maybe log out and then log back. Well, I don't know if we can do that when we're in breakout room.
I don't know. I'm just not gonna worry about
Over
it.
Zoom.
Look, see,
Yeah, just
am I still live? I'm sure someone will tell me. Yeah, I'm still live, yes. I just, thank you, public. I am still live. I appreciate you very much so, as I'm trying to figure out the lighting in my front porch.
Sorry.
All right, guys, hold on just a second. It's always a different issue, right? Let's try this again.
Are we leaving and coming back?
Go do, Jamie. There we go.
No, I was
Yeah, I literally see two of you. Oh, one's gone.
Okay.
Oh, now she's completely gone.
Howdy, neighbors. Hey, buddy.
This is gonna be.
I didn't touch it.
No.
Nope.
The universe
We just don't know what to expect.
is expanding. I think something's wrong here.
You're one of the Avengers. Are you here to help us?
I can't hear what I can't hear.
Zoom, and this is the meeting. These are people that are apparently up.
Yeah, I have that part, but I can't hear. And I have. Oh, we can hear you.
You're already joined by phone.
Hi, it's Andy from Florida.
Okay, I can hear now.
Hi, Andy. It's Brenda.
Hello, Brenda.
Hi.
I know you're having a meeting, right?
Well, I guess they are somewhere else.
So guess I'm standing here with Jeannie, you know, Jeannie from Chip Bottom.
Yes. Hi, Jeannie.
We're in Tampa together. We're right next to each other. I know you.
Hi. Miss you. Miss you.
I will mute as soon as they resume the meeting.
Oh.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna be in trouble. No, we're not showing faces. Now I have a visor on. Better mute now. Uh-oh. Fuzzy's like, better mute now.
Your password. You have no messages. Send. Press.
Just checking to see if you found anything, new, Stan. You didn't call any chance.
Thank you, everybody, for being so patient.
Yeah, I apologize for my technical difficulties, and also you had to hear my spirited conversation about my lighting problems that I have when I do these meetings. So I do apologize for that.
We've got 67 folks on the call. We have Jamie, we have Dan, we have Chris, we have Nancy, waiting for Colleen. Bruce is there, yeah. Just waiting for Colleen to come out of that room. I'm in the room by myself, she said.
Remember, I was like, okay,
Did you feel left behind?
I did. I wasn't feeling the love. We good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, I have minutes for approval today without formal reading of January 28th, 2021, an agenda meeting, and also an executive session from that day, January 28th, 2021.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, ordinance 2021 1C, an ordinance of the Borough of Beach Haven, repealing and replacing Chapter 170, Article 2, Stormwater Control, to reflect amendments to the stormwater management rules implemented by NJAC 7:8. The purpose, the state of New Jersey requires all municipalities to revise their municipal stormwater control ordinances to reflect amendments to the stormwater management rules by March 2nd, 2021. Second reading.
Okay. Do I make a motion here? Or-
No, since it's second reading, we're going to open the floor.
Okay.
So if there's any member of the public that wishes to speak to ordinance 2021 1C regarding stormwater management rules, please raise an electronic hand. You can find that under the participants tab or under the reactions tab, depending on the type of device that you're on. Seeing none? Seeing none, Colleen, you can close the floor and ask for a motion.
Okay, closing the floor. Would somebody like to make a motion regarding 1C? Sorry.
1C.
So moved. To approve.
Second?
Thank you, Jamie. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021 2C, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 153 Public Records of the Borough of Beach Haven to establish fees for duplicate tax bills and lien redemption calculations as requested by the certified tax collector. Final reading.
Would anyone like to speak to this matter?
If you'd wish to make public comment on 2021 2C, you can raise an electronic hand. If you're on a regular phone, you can *6 and announce yourself. Seeing none.
Okay, anybody like to make a motion to approve 2021?
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
And before we go on to the resolutions surrounding the pickleball, we've had so much discussion over the years. I feel like I've been trying to just stay factual. But for today's meeting, I did prepare a little statement from myself, just with my recommendations. It is the responsibility of the borough It's elected and appointed officials to step away from the personalities and the drama to take a bird's eye view of all the infrastructure and amenities we offer to update them as necessary. If a water main, a bathroom facility, or a recreation amenity is in need of repairs or upgrade, it's our responsibility to take care of it timely. Delaying upgrades to facilities opens the door for liability and substantial increases in cost down the road. Today, we're considering a much needed improvement to the pickleball facility, much needed because the use of the facility clearly exceeds the capacity. After community donations, it will cost the borough an additional $20,000 over the 6-court project. And you can guarantee that if an upgrade to the facility to 9 courts isn't completed now, the cost to add 3 courts down the road will be at least $100,000 plus, and pretty sure we won't be seeing any more donations coming in. I've heard over the past years, laborious discussions surrounding resident and non-resident. I've heard phrases like, they can play somewhere else, or, we don't want that type of facility here. And no elected official, appointed official, employee should be encouraging any person to go somewhere else that we don't want to accommodate or welcome you. I can't in good conscience do that. Our bread and butter and our steady tax rate depends on happy residents and visitors. Our entire borough team, in excess of 100 employees, and myself are trained over and over about customer service and how to treat our residents and visitors and to make them feel at home. So in closing, resident, non-resident, all colors, all ages, all interests should be welcome here. Protections for the neighborhood will be and are being implemented. I feel like this project makes fiscal sense, and I encourage you to install 9 courts at Nelson Avenue. We have 3 resolutions being presented today. The first one is 67, 2021, and this is a resolution rejecting one of the bids. So once we decide how we're going to proceed, we'll be rejecting all bids for the construction of the pickleball courts at Nelson Avenue, either the 6 or the 9 court project. Then I'm presenting resolution 68, which is the 9 court project, and 68A, which is the 6 court project. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Colleen. I'm not sure how you want to proceed.
Well, I was going to give the council members a chance if they had anything they'd like to say at this point in time.
I do.
Nancy.
Okay, well, I think everybody knows I'm in favor of pickleball. I'm in favor of the 9 courts. I think Sherry spoke very clearly, and I think her point was well taken. And one of my talking points is that we as council members cannot make decisions based on our personalized visions of how we see this town. We really have to consider what our voters and our taxpayers want. And I think, remember that only about 10%, if less, of people that own homes here and pay taxes vote here. So there's an awful lot of people that are concerned, and we have already done some statistics that indicate that the majority of the people that play pickleball down on Nelson Avenue are actual taxpayers in Beach Haven. And I also don't like to disregard the people that come in. I think we have a very, very strong group. So number one, we have very strong public support for pickleball. It's a very enthusiastic group of pickleball players, and most of them are taxpayers from Beach Haven, and they raised $29,000 to help us pay for these courts. And that is no small task. And they did it in a very, very fast period of time. And I want to thank them all for their commitment. Number two, I think that pickleball promotes outdoor recreation for people of all ages. It promotes physical and mental health, and it's certainly a wonderful sport. It also accommodates people who have all levels of ability. You don't have to be a champion pickleball player. It's the fastest growing sport in the US. I've read numerous articles about that. It accommodates people of all abilities and all ages. It's about the easiest racket sport to play, and it takes up less space than most racket sports, such as tennis. You don't need as much room to build these courts. No, the next point is it really is good for the small business owners because it does bring people into town. And we do want to help our small businesses be successful in this town. One thing that makes Beach Haven unique is the fact that we do have restaurants and a drugstore and some retail shops. And the more people that come in and use the town and love the town, the more likely they are to support these small businesses. So I think that's very important. Also, everywhere in town is congested in the summer. And we rely on our summer tourism. Those of us that live here year round, that we're so lucky, what gives us the amenities to have a grocery store and a pharmacy is this very healthy summer business that we harbor in Beach Haven. Believe me, if we didn't have the tourists in Beach Haven in the summer, we wouldn't have a grocery store in town that we can walk to or ride our bikes to, or a drugstore or a liquor store. So basically, this is very good. And if you buy a house on a public park, you're going to have to expect an increase in activity and commotion. It's the only, it is public property. I live by the beach. I have a lot of commotion here because people like to go to the beach and they ride up to the end of my street and they look for a parking spot, and it becomes quite crazy, but I think we have to put up with it in the summer. I also support strongly the 9 courts. If you look at the cost of the 9 courts versus the 6, by having 9 courts come in at once, the course is decreased, and that's without even counting the $29,000 donation. If you count the $29,000 donation, it brings each court cost down about $3,000 more. As Sherry said, if we go with the 6 courts and want to build more pickleball courts in the future, it's going to cost us a lot more money. It also frees up the tennis courts for tennis. We have 7 gorgeous tennis courts. I think if we go with only 6 courts down on Nelson, we're going to have to make a commitment to reline some of the tennis courts on Pearl Street to allow for pickleball play there as well as tennis. And that's about all I have to say, but that's my point of view. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in?
I will.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the things that I've learned about this process that we have been going through is ultimately that procedure and consistency make any type of system function more efficiently and properly. The amount of building 6 courts is clearly in our budget, and this is the process as I understand it. You budget an amount, approve the amount, you bid for the amount, or you implement the amount. When the bid comes in, you approve the bid within your budget, and this is all done at public meetings with public feedback. Out of an 18-mile island, Beach Haven is a small town. We're approximately 2.3 square miles. To me, for being such a small town and having 6 pickleball courts is very impressive. When the hockey rink was converted into pickleball courts, none of the residents were notified. And they were upset because when the hockey rink was built, as a courtesy, the borough did reach out to them and they were very involved in the process. The residents in neighborhoods surrounding Nelson Park are concerned with congestion and noise. They have pleaded with council to move the courts. Unfortunately, at this point, I do not think that's an option. But to compromise with the surrounding neighborhood, we should continue to build 6 new courts with the sound barriers and use the remaining funds that we will have, because we are in our allocated budget, to landscape around the 6 new courts, provide benches and some type of shade on the west side of the new 6 courts. I cannot in good conscience vote yes for any more pickleball courts at the Nelson Park. The echoing of players striking the ball in pickleball is significantly louder than the noise from hitting, for example, a tennis ball. Residents have told me that they can hear people play pickleball even when they're inside their home. They've expressed that it's not only the level of the noise, but the consistency of the noise every day for consecutive hours. Now, many towns across the country are also fielding complaints from neighborhoods that are directly adjacent to pickleball courts. You can read anywhere various news media reports stretching from Miami to Houston to Los Angeles back to New Jersey about the controversy of the game's loudness and disruption in the neighborhood. It is crucial that we listen to our residents, both our pickleball players and the surrounding neighborhood, and we need to compromise. 9 courts playing a round robin type of game would be at least 54 players at one time, 36 on, 12 off. That would be 108 players moving through Nelson Park at least twice a day at one time. This is just too many people every day, and it's not fair to the neighborhood. It's also not safe, as many people are coming in from other towns into Beach Haven. 6 courts playing a round robin type of game would be at least 36 players, 24 on and 12 off. The compromise is 6 new courts within our budget with the appropriate sound barriers to decrease the noise.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Anybody else? No?
I have a statement to make too.
I said.
I'll read mine as well. After listening to over 20 people speak at council meetings during the past 2 months, reading letters to the sandpaper, reading emails from residents who are for 9 courts and opposed to 9 courts, it is evident that pickleball is an amenity that our town has to offer. It provides a great social outlet for residents and visitors alike. These are my pros and cons that I am using to make my decision, weighing them out for the 6 versus the 9 courts. 6 court pros. It's able to be built under budget, set aside for the courts that we've had in borough. There's less congestion and parking issues in the area. It's an amenity for the town, and there's less pervious surface coverage. The cons for the courts that are 6. There's continued wait time for play. And as Jamie said, the amount of players that play at on the 6 courts, there's 24 on, 12 off, that calculation. Pickleball community raises funds. Raised funds will have to be refunded, and there will be 200 unhappy Beach Haven residents. The 9 courts, the pros for those. There's greater availability of courts, less wait times, happiness for the pickleball community, and an amenity for town also. The cons, there's increased attendance, increased traffic congestion, over budget cost to the town, disappointment for the residents surrounding the courts, and it's also more pervious surface coverage. With either option, I believe there'll be an opportunity to share the sport with our Beach Haven young children and young adult population in the off season with this new courts. And I've been approached by some to offer lessons as well. With either option, I believe the pickleball community will continue to support Beach Haven businesses and our community. After taking into consideration all comments, concerns, financials, and location, as well as doing many hours of my own research on this, my decision is to move forward with approving the rebuild of 6 pickleball courts at Nelson Park. With 6 new courts, we'll be able to continue to offer pickleball here in town in order to maintain an active quality of life for those that play, along with maintaining the quality of life for those that live in Nelson Park residential neighborhood. That's my statement.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Dan, you want to go? You want me to go? What would you like to do here?
Oh, man, up to you. If you want me to go, I can go.
Sure, go ahead.
I was afraid you'd say that. This, has been a long discussion, as we all know, about 6 versus 9. Back when this all started, it was just, we need to fix the courts. They're unplayable. We need to redo the 6 courts. And then it blossomed into the projects that we have in front of us now. And it's, every 15 minutes I'm back and forth, do we do the 6, do we do the 9? I see the merits on both sides of it. I'm happy to see with the 9 courts that the acoustic fence is now being included in the whole project, whereas before we were not going to do that. That was a big problem for me because all the neighbors in the surrounding neighborhood, which, they're probably the biggest stakeholders in this whole situation because it affects their day-to-day life. They had certain requests, noise fence, limit play between, after the hours of 8 o'clock, put the entrance to the west side, which we all have, which is in the plan at this time. The main concern I have with 9 is, as Jamie pointed out, the amount of people that are going to be down there. And I would hope, and this is my strenuous hope, and I don't know if decisions can be made only on hope, that the pickleball community takes that seriously, really takes that to heart, that you can't have 100 people rolling around down there all the time, because it is a children's playground that is very well used. And with that kind of turnover 2 or 3 times a day, you're going to have the potential for a catastrophe, and nobody wants that. At the same time, the other side is 9 going to be enough? Because 6 sells out within minutes now. Are we going to be here next year? We need to reline the tennis courts. I mean, it is a very popular sport. I mean, these are all the things that have been rattling around my head. And, I was very interested to hear what the rest of council had to say. And, I'm probably going to wait until the last second to make up my mind when the chips are on the table, because I'm still processing everything. I'm on the fence. So I wish I could help clarify my position more, but that's just, I'm struggling with it.
Okay. So I guess that leaves me, and I have to echo exactly what Dan said. This has been an extremely, my mind has changed many times. The arguments, both pro and con, have been very, very persuasive. And contrary to popular belief, my mind was not already made up. In fact, if you asked me last year at this time, it was definitely 9 courts. Let's move on with our lives. It's a popular sport. There's no doubt about it. It's a growing sport. And, as a retired physical education teacher, I really, applaud what they're doing. And then when I started to run for office and campaign, I started hearing from the neighbors. And I felt really compelled when I was listening to their stories to do a lot more research, which is why I wanted to defer this in the first place. And I know some people were like, well, what are you doing? I said, well, because I wanted to research all the noise issues and everything else that were coming up. And it is amazing what is coming up. And unfortunately, as popular as pickleball is, it does have a noise issue. And to the point where actually lawsuits are being instituted all over the country because the neighbors are so upset. And I felt it wouldn't be fair to the neighbors down there if we just said, okay, we're going to put up 9 with the sound screens and we'll move on with our lives, because I've heard they will help a lot. But if they're not helping enough and we've increased the number, then we're kind of putting them into a very kind of poor situation. One couple even said they're considering selling their home because the problem is so intrusive and pervasive. As I said, there were many wonderful arguments, pro and con. I called numerous communities and even Avalon, which I know has been brought up. And the gentleman told me, he goes, oh yeah, we have noise complaints. They just decided that, they weren't as important as adding on to their pickleball courts. I think that's easy to say when you're not the one living right next to it. And I know I did hear from a couple pickleball people who do live right next to it. But I also heard from like 6, I believe it was, surrounding neighbors who said, please, please, a little consideration here. And my thought is, and I know financially, fiscally, this is probably not the best decision, but I would like to see what happens with the 6 courts. And if those sound barriers offer enough, and if not, is there something further we can do? I am not ruling out 9. I would consider it down the road. But I think, in fairness to the neighbors who live there and who really were never consulted, and I know the argument about the park because I think I used that myself, and I noticed everybody else kind of picked up on it. But as Dan said, they were never consulted. They just found pickleball in their backyard, and it's very loud, and it is causing a problem. I do appreciate the fact that the pickleball community raised the money. That was amazing. I just wish the previous council that felt so strongly at the very end had moved on this if they'd felt that strongly, because I know the pickleball players feel they've been led down the garden path. I get that. But at the end of the day, they either should have passed it while they were in office or let it go and let us deal with it, because, there are a lot of considerations. I would encourage everybody else. It's fine that people come to Beach Haven. We know that you like to come to Beach Haven. We're grateful. You use the tennis courts, you use the boat launch, you use our beaches. But Beach Haven already has twice as many pickleball courts as anybody else. I would encourage everybody to go to their own councils and ask them to see if they would increase the numbers. I called around and I'm not seeing a lot of people willing to do that because I think they're waiting to see what Beach Haven does. Even Manahawkin, that has a population over twice what we have in the summer, is adding 2 courts for a grand total of 3 dedicated courts. So you can see it's a little frustrating, and especially now that we have an erosion problem that we know we're going to have to deal with. And the kids have petitioned to get, some kind of new park up for them. There are other considerations. That's where I'm standing. I wouldn't rule it out right now. I would add one thing, and that is, line the tennis courts, line the tennis courts. If you were at the October meeting of last year, those neighbors were there because they know pickleball is a problem with the noise. And all you're going to do is upset another group of neighbors. So let's just see how things work down at Nelson. That is my recommendation at this point.
I just wanted to real quick clarify, Colleen, that the former governing body wasn't able to award anything because we hadn't bid anything yet. When they left office, we hadn't bid anything yet. We were only just getting it lined up, so.
I understand, but they had the opportunity to put it out to bid earlier. And truthfully, the best time to do that would have been when the tennis courts were getting redone, because I guarantee you it would have been a fraction of the price we're looking at now because all the equipment was already there. And that's what usually is a huge cost factor. Plus, it was pre-COVID, so the asphalt prices would have been down also. So that's why I was kind of like, it got punted over to us, and then we looked like we were the heavies. But this could have been done previously had they so desired. But anyhow.
From what I'm hearing, we are looking to adopt Resolution 67, 2021, rejecting all bids for the 2020 construction of pickleball courts at Nelson Avenue 9-court project. Is that correct? We're rejecting all bids for the 9-court project, number 67, 2021.
Okay, we make a motion to reject the bid for 9 courts at Nelson.
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second.
Okay, Mr. Allen,
Reject the 9 courts.
reject 9 courts.
Just so I understand, Colleen, you're in favor of the 6-court platform? And
For now,
later?
yes, yes.
So if I'm hearing right, there's already. All right. So,
There's other motions for consideration to approve the 9-court or the 6-court. Those are the subsequent 2 motions that are on the agenda. So obviously, if you reject the 9, the next motion would be to approve the 6-court
Approve
bid.
the 6.
right. So I guess. So on the first vote on that, rejecting the 9-court bid.
Well, yeah, I have a motion and a second,
Yeah.
so we're just roll calling right now.
Well, seeing as how I see, I think where the cards lay anyway, I'm just going to say my voice. Morally, it didn't feel good to ask the community to go get, and I've said this to I think each one of you guys, a donation, which they did an outstanding expectation, exceeded expectations. But, seeing as how what I think is going to happen, I think the cards are already set. So would I reject the 9-court bid? I guess so, yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
No,
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes to rejecting the 9-court bid.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes,
Then I'm going to present 68A 2021, awarding a contract to Command Company, Inc. for the 2021 construction of pickleball courts at Nelson Avenue 6-court project.
make a motion to approve 68A 2021.
You're making one or you're asking for one?
One.
I'm sorry?
I'm asking for one.
Okay,
So moved.
thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
No.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
Okay, all matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 62, 2021 is rescinding Resolution 47, 2021, and readopting a resolution approving the certified list of eligibles for the Beach Haven Volunteer Fire Company 2020 LoSAP. 63 is acknowledging a managerial appointment to the Land Use Board. 64 is refunding a tax overpayment. 65 is amending a professional service agreement with Triad Associates as administrative agent for sale and resale services. 66, executing a shared service agreement with Tuckerton Borough for vac truck and operator services. 69, authorizing submission of amusement licenses MG3 through MG15 for Fantasy Island. 71, acknowledging the hiring of a full-time permit clerk, Vivian Washburn. And 73, budget transfers.
Are there any questions or concerns about the items on the consent agenda?
No.
I have no
No.
questions.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
I have a bill list this evening in the amount of $2,381,345.02.
Are there any questions about any of the bills? Everybody a chance to read them, I assume?
Yes.
No?
No, I have no questions about the bills.
Okay. No one? All right.
No que-
Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
We have one item for a quick general discussion. Mayor, if you'd like to talk about the special events for 2021, specifically flea markets, farm markets, and craft fairs.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we've been approached by numerous people and they would like to up the number of flea markets and craft fairs. I don't think the farm market. And it came to it. My concern with this was that we have businesses in town that are paying, rents, mortgages, buying mercantile licenses, and to open up too many of the craft shows and flea markets for, say, $30 a table. I don't think it's fair to our businesses. I do believe that some of these events do help bring people into town. They're popular. I know I love to go to them, but I just want to keep an eye on this because I think we owe our businesses a little consideration not to open this too far and make it, too easy for everybody to just come in. That's my feeling on that. Anybody else?
I disagree. I think the craft markets are basically, I think they add a lot to the town. People like them. I think they probably increase the business in town versus take away from it. They do not sell the same kind of stuff that you have. A lot of the things are handmade items, and it gives people a chance to sort of walk around and look at things and take a break from the beach. I think it adds a lot to Beach Haven. I'd like to see a little more variety, like an antique market or something like that. But I don't think it's I really don't think it's hurting business in town. And I think it brings people into town that utilizes the business that are here.
I do have Mary Claire Bunce with me. She administers this program, the special event program. So maybe she can speak to the number of craft shows, flea markets, and farmers markets versus what's being proposed. Did you want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
that's what I was going to ask. If you could just give us those two again for me in one little synopsis.
Sure. I can only speak to farmers markets for what's happened in the previous years. There's been no application yet for 2021. The last 2 years, a farmers market applicant has increased. Well, the first year it was only a couple weeks, maybe 5 weeks. Last year she had about 10 to 12 farmers markets on Wednesdays. I'm not sure what her plan is for this year. And
So it was every Wednesday?
it was every Wednesday. Up until this year, there has been one person who has been applying for flea/craft fairs. We have held her to 3 of them for herself, and then she has one for the LBI Historical Association and one for CAP. So there have been a total of 5 spread out throughout the summer and into September. This year, we have another applicant who is requesting one. I think hers was for 7 weeks. She intentionally put them on weeks that the other applicant wasn't having her flea and craft market, so there wouldn't be too many in 1 week. And she is planning a much smaller event with anything, she said, from 3 to 10 vendors, where the other applicant has at least 20. So it is a different style of event. And the new applicant, her event is going to have smaller crafters that are more local. But they are different in style. The way that they've lined up, they will be, it will be almost one per week for a lot of the summer, but I mean, they kind of are different in a sense in scale and what they're going to be offering to the public. But, you know, I'm not sure. I see Sarah Stillwell, the farmer's market, the woman who runs the farmer's market. She's on. I reached out to the applicants to let them listen in. So if they had anything to say, either a public comment or now, they could.
Well, not yet. We're not accepting any public comment yet. So please
Whenever, if it was
remain
open.
on mute until we open the floor. Right now, the discussion is just between the mayor and council. So Chris.
Yeah, I see 2 sides to this. I mean, as from the business standpoint, what is the fee for these? Is it a one-time $300 fee?
So for the farmer's market, the last 2 years, it was a one-time $300 rental fee. There's a application fee as well, and then a bond fee. The bond fee and the application fee are paid for every event. The rental fee, just the one time. And it's different for for-profit and nonprofit. So the ones that the other applicant, the longer term craft fair applicant, when she would hold the ones for the LBI Historical Association or CAP, her fees for those events were smaller, but they were receiving all the benefit for those.
Right. All right. I mean, I can see from a business standpoint how some businesses might be upset that, you know, it's kind of a way around it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, rents are so high in this town, and given the state of everything right now, you know, I like the idea of giving the little guys that can't afford, like I read the email, I can't afford a cart in Schooner's Wharf or outside of Bay Village, can't even get a presence in town anyway, to give them an opportunity to grow their business and hopefully occupy a store down the road. So I think, you know, as a council, I'd look to see us give an opportunity, a stepping stone to possibly help people succeed. You know, it's all about supporting small business, and these guys seem like they're the smallest. So you know, I like the idea of this. So I don't think there'll be a threat to the vendors that are already established in town that get foot traffic and everything else. But I think we need to help the guys that maybe, you know, give them a chance, was my thought.
It's just a fun event too. I mean, it's just fun. People like to walk around. I walk through though every time they have one, and frequently I never buy anything, but it's nice. And I know the person that wants to do these small flea markets on Friday had a business in town and paid really a lot of rent for a number of years, and I think probably didn't make it any money, but ran a very nice business. And and she makes some jewelry, and I just think it gives little people that are, like you said, Dan, that are entrepreneurs a chance to kind of take some of the stuff they've made and maybe sell it, and it might lead to something else. They might eventually run a store in town and have a business there. So I think it just adds a little spice to the summer.
Chris or Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I have always been in favor of the farmers market, and supporting our New Jersey farms. I've definitely been a proponent of any type of farmers market supporting local farmers. As far as the new it's on Fridays, correct?
Right.
Fridays. It's small. I just don't know, because of like legality, insurance wise, could we possibly, reach out to the businesses and allow them, if they wanted to, also participate as well, free of charge, or something along those lines, to kind of give them the opportunity, if they were feeling that was taking away from their business. I mean, it's never so insanely busy that I would think that it would intrude on the businesses financially, but realistically, they are paying expensive rent. So is there a compromise anywhere? I guess that's what I'm asking for the businesses.
Okay, we can look into that. There's no public comment yet. Please keep yourself on mute until we finish with the mayor and council. Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I belong to a CSA, community supported agriculture. So I am a big fan of having the farmers market. I love when I was able to walk up to Holy Innocents or to the park with Miss Stillwell. And I used to travel all the way down to Surf City on Monday morning. So to be able to have it here in town, I think is really helpful. I do like to be able, like what Nancy said, to go to the craft shows and to the markets and just look around. And I think that it just brings a different aspect to town. And I think, honestly, people go to that, but then also are walking around town as well and participating in the local businesses. I like Jamie's idea of compromising, and I'd like to hear if the businesses would be willing to, if on the Fridays, putting out a table if they so choose, if that is creating a problem for them. But I personally have not heard that, so I can't speak to that. But I think that having them is a fine idea.
I did include the Chamber of Commerce in on this discussion by sending them out, the new secretary, out an email, and I think I see her, so she might at the end, when everybody else makes public comment, she might have something to say too. Maybe she'll know what they have, what their opinion is about it.
So
thank you.
If it's okay with council, we do see some folks on that are involved in this with us. Is this Sally?
Yeah, let's hear from. That'd be good.
Okay, so Sally Pressman, is that you?
Yes, hi everyone. It's good to meet you. I am on the board of the Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce. We're a newly elected board, and that includes representatives from a diverse group of businesses in Beach Haven, amusement, hotels, restaurants, etc. And we did discuss this topic. Thanks to the council for letting us know ahead of time. We did discuss this at the last Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and are in full support of having activities, be they flea markets, craft fairs, even musical events, farmers markets, or whatever the case may be, that are occurring in Veterans Park or in other parks in Beach Haven. We believe that those activities increase the vibrancy of the town. People coming to walk around, spend money, go to eat at restaurants. They don't stop shopping at those places. They continue shopping at the stores on the boulevard. So all in all, we are, the chamber board is in support of having these events at the various public locations in Beach Haven. And apologize, I have to hop off, but I did just want to make that statement.
Thank you,
Thank
Sally.
you.
I have Mary and Sarah.
Okay, Mary Derner, did you want to speak?
Yes, hi. So I'm the one that submitted the application for the Friday vendor for the craft show. So I'm a local resident, so I live on the island. I had a yoga studio, had to close my yoga studio last year. I've checked out rents in Bay Village. A little cart for rent is $6,000. Just like, it doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, so I do Surf City Farmers Market, and it's so popular. People love it. It gets the community out there. I don't think it will have any negative effect on the Saturday craft shows or shopping. And I'm looking for local craft people that have a craft, that they don't have a brick and mortar store, maybe where they can sell their craft. There's a woman called Shell Shuck. She makes these beautiful shells that she sells online, and it's that kind of craft. So I think it would add to the community. My vision, I mean, I would go in with the farmers market, and if we just could have one, but apparently, you know, they don't want vendors in this Wednesday farmers market. But I'm not opposed to that, so that's why I put in the proposal for this Friday. I just picked a day. But I think it would be really good for the community. I know up in Surf City, people love it. They come, they shop. You're done at 12 o'clock. People go to the beach. People aren't really shopping in the morning here. That's what my feeling is. They're getting ready to go to the beach. They're doing their shopping later in the day. I don't think it's going to have a negative effect on the Saturday craft shows, because it's totally different. I'm not doing it on a Friday. I put in for Fridays that were when there was no craft show on a Saturday. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. I see Pam Patullo is on. Pam, would you like to speak?
Yes, honey. I've had the opportunity, and I thank the town for letting us do this for many years. I've helped the CAP organization and the LBI Historical for about 12 years now. And I've already started getting phone calls from people who come to the shows wanting to know what our dates were, because they want to schedule their vacations around the dates that I have. And of course, I refer them to my website. But we've had great luck with people coming in and enjoying the show, but then looking for the restaurants, looking to do other things in town, spending their whole week there, and setting the dates up around when we have our shows. Of course, they're great fundraisers for the Historical Society and CAP, and the other shows that we do. They've been there for a long time, and people look forward to these every year. And I also have a lot of the merchants in town who have stores who set up at my events. So they do come out. I have the hat lady who comes out, and Mary herself does my shows. So we do have other stores, the stores in town, and I allow them, and I allow anybody who wants to participate from town to come out. So it's not, we don't stop them, but we've been going on for 12 years, and I, as a vendor, have been doing these shows for over 25 years, even before I took them over after the people before me retired. So it's a great adventure, and we do bring in people, and I know that, and we are glad to have the opportunity to do it. And people look forward to us. Like I say, I've already started getting phone calls. When are you going to have them so they can schedule their dates?
Pam,
And it was great.
I have a question for you. Do you give any type of discounts to the Beach Haven businesses as a vendor in any of your 5 craft shows?
We haven't in the past, but we can. If I wanted to start that, I could. That's not a problem. To encourage them to come out. If we get back to Vets Park and have more room, that would be really easy to do. Right now, we're restricted being in Walsh Field. So trying to raise the money for the CAP and the Historical Society.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah Stillwell, did you want to speak?
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for letting the farmer's market come into existence. I know the people are so appreciative. It seems like they've wanted it for a very long time. There's not a week that goes by that we don't, hear from so many people that are so grateful to have fresh produce that's literally hours old. We enjoy as a farm coming there. We love the community. When I first talked to the town council, let's see, I guess it was 2019, we brought up the idea of inviting merchants in town to even be a part of the farmers market. The town council at the time didn't really want it to be another flea market, or to have a lot of other merchants other than the fresh produce, because they didn't want to, compete with businesses. I was very welcome, and I even approached a couple of bakeries, coffee shops. I thought that would have been a great attraction, to have like coffee and bagels or coffee and donuts if they wanted to vote it. But I don't think they didn't get back to me because they're just simply too busy, to handle both things. And as far as crafters, I don't really want a lot to manage. I would not, if it's better for the town to include these home crafters in it, that's fine. I don't want to step on Pam's toes. She's also been very welcoming to us, as our craft is fresh flowers, and also our produce is our craft, if you will. I've been coming to the Ingleside Park craft shows for many years with our fresh produce and flowers. And so I don't want to, have the crafters there if that's going to infringe on her craft shows. I just want to do whatever is best for the town. If you think it's better in conjunction to have a few local crafters there, I wasn't really opposed to it. I just wanted to do what the town council wanted, and that was basically to bring fresh produce, perhaps breads, cheese, that kind of thing, to the farmers market.
Mhm.
But so I'm willing to do whatever
Okay.
works best for the
Thank you, Sarah.
town. But if you would like to get that word out to like coffee shops or bagel shops, I think that would be great. That would be welcome. And, they don't have to pay anything. I get that they pay high taxes and mercantile licenses, the whole thing. I was just willing to do like the coffee, donuts, or bagels, or pastries, or whatever, just as an added attraction and a way to show that I was business friendly. I wasn't trying to step on people's toes but I just want to let you know, I did reach out, and the couple I reached out to did not, get back to me.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to shift back to the mayor and council before we wrap up this discussion to see if there's anything else, and also to discuss real quick about the location. How are we feeling about, the master plan's idea of moving these events to Walsh Field and keeping them there in preparation of a Veterans Park rehab project?
Well, as you know, I mentioned before, I'm in favor of using Veterans Bicentennial Park. I'll use both names now. I feel it's more centrally located. It is actually an easier surface because Walsh Field gets very mucky and muddy. And I know Chris Carson mentioned that last year all the grass was destroyed, which is why they kind of want to move it over. I think you have better optics as far as, where people can get to. I prefer Bicentennial Park. And I'd like to clarify something. The reason I raised this concern in the first place is, and I don't know, Sherry, you probably remember, and Nancy, and I don't know who else, about 15 years ago, it was a big deal and the merchants really were upset. And that's when we had been at one flea market in June, craft show July, craft show August, flea market September. And then we started putting in more. And that's when the merchants got upset. And I understand that because I like these too. If the merchants are on board with this, I'm okay. So, the Chamber of Commerce, I appreciate hearing from them. If they're representative of the Beach Haven businesses, I'm okay with, extending that Friday, whatever. If there was a way to combine it, that would be great too. That's where I stand.
Thank you, Colleen.
So as of right now, go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I was just going to say, I think this coming summer, we're still going to be overshadowed with the COVID situation. I think we're still going to have a lot of outdoor dining. And I think the Surflight might ask to utilize the park again with the tent. A lot depends on what happens in the next couple of months, but it sort of looks that way to me at the moment. So one of the reasons we used Walshfield this year was the fact that we're just spreading things out, but it worked out great for the farmers market because that was the one thing Mr. Murphy wasn't happy with, was having the farmers market right in his backyard by his parking lot. And so it worked out great. And they were set over on the edge where there really isn't any grass. I mean, most of the time when they were on Walsh Field, they weren't in the center of the field at all. So if a helicopter had to land, it still could. So they were sort of, the way they spaced them, they were sort of in like a V shape along the west and the south side of the fence. But I think we're going to be stuck with Walsh Field this summer again, but who knows?
Point.
Yep.
Chris?
So this is a yearly thing. So, obviously Veterans Park is not in the process of being transformed into whatever it's supposed to be transformed into. So you do this every year. You renew these requests. So I do know that the grass got damaged. I frequented the farmers market there, that it did get damaged and it was very mucky. They utilized the area on Bay Avenue versus the rock area. I do know that these new applications are requesting to use the rock area, and I think that is ideal for that. If the Surflight is in the Veterans Park, that makes it obviously hard for the rest of these other places to go there. But if it's not, then I think that it should stay at Veterans Park, maybe the farmers market, easier access, and to help out Mr. Murphy, stay, at Walsh, because now there's kind of a precedence for that, and go from there. So, and if you have that big flea market in Walsh Field and it's wet, it's gonna be gross. So,
Thanks, Chris.
Welcome.
Jamie or Dan?
No,
I
I
think
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody hit it.
Okay. All right, that's all we have. Colleen, if you want to open the floor for public comment.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Raise your electric hand and Sherry will try to call on you.
Carl Lambell. Unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Carl, you're still muted. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, state your name and
Oh,
address
okay.
for the record.
Yes, Carl Lumbell, 15 West 13th Street, North Beach Haven.
All right, go ahead.
Obviously very disappointed in the short-sightedness of the council's vote. We felt like we made a pretty compelling argument for 9 courts. And in light of this reduction, I think I'd like to propose that Beach Haven come up with an advisory board for pickleball and tennis, and appoint residents of Beach Haven to be on that board, and really start to monitor the activity between the two sports, really. And I would start maybe on Memorial Day and run it through October 31st, and get a real true feel of what's going on in both locations. Additionally, I think that in spite of what the mayor said, I do think that you should consider landing some of those tennis courts at Walsh Field. This game continues to grow. It's growing leaps and bounds. I guarantee you we will have more people playing this year than we had last year. So it's going to create just more wait time in between. By lining off some of those tennis courts, we could send a whole group of people there to play. And I would suggest that they come up with a schedule that you could have alternating days. That you could play pickleball in the morning, tennis in the afternoon. The next day you'd play tennis in the morning, pickleball in the afternoon. And the homes at Walsh Field are much further away from those courts. So I know the noise issue is something you're really concerned about, and it is a concern everywhere in the country. However, they're still building pickleball courts all over the United States. As I said, those homes at Walsh Field are farther away, and I don't know if Beach Haven has a decibel sound ordinance or a noise ordinance, but I would suggest that you run some tests, and I think that you would find that the noise would not be an issue for pickleball players at Walsh Field.
Thank you, Carl.
And I had fully expected to toast the council for voting for this. However, I'm not going to waste my vodka for the short-sightedness of the council, but I would rather propose a toast to all of the people who worked so hard to try to make this happen. 002. Thank you.
Carl. Rhea Flynn.
Yeah, you're still muted.
Okay, Bria Flynn, 1610 South Bay Avenue, Beach Haven. First of all, I would like to thank our supporters on the council, Nancy and Sherry, who gave very good passionate speeches as to why we should have the 9 courts. Extremely disappointed in the lack of foresight of the council. I think that it will be fiscally difficult to add 3 more courts when right now you have a doable amount of money. You have $29,000 that we have donated, which any other community would be thrilled to have had a group of people donate $29,000. I think that you are truly not looking out for the people, but for your own agendas. And it really is very disturbing. I am very upset with the council. We did have an affirmative vote in the previous council. Unfortunately, I don't know who dragged their feet, but we should have had an approval then. You have determined that pickleball is a second-class sport when it is the largest growing sport in the world, never mind nation. And I think that you really have made a major mistake here. You have the people that come to pickleball are people that care about Beach Haven. They care about being involved in activities. We rent places out for 200 people and give business to everyone. It is very upsetting. And I don't know what else more we could have done to convince the council to do this. And on the other hand, what are we going to do about the coyotes? Just so on another switch over. I've seen coyotes twice on my walks now this morning on Pelham. 10 days ago, I have 2 small dogs. It's very scary to go out in the morning and worry whether they're going to be coyotes coming at you.
Rhea,
That's
we're
another
working
issue.
on that. We're working on that. We're teaming up with some of the other municipalities to do, some cameras and possibly some trap and relocate. So we're working on that along with several of the other communities on the island.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. I'm just concerned when the population rises, where these will go. And there's also multiplying, which they'll be in packs, which makes them more aggressive.
Yeah, we agree. Thanks, Rhea. Ted Miller, did you want to speak? You can go ahead and unmute yourself. State your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, that took me a little bit of time, but
That's okay.
thank you for giving me the opportunity just to speak. I have been
What's your
listening.
name and address? Just state your name.
Sorry, it's Ted Miller, and my address is 103 East 25th Street in Spray Beach. And
Okay,
first
go
of
ahead.
all, I'd like to say I really applaud Sherry and Dr. Davis for their stand on the pickleball situation. They've been listening to us, they've been responding to us, and I appreciate their honesty. And secondly, I'd like to say, shame on you, Beach Haven Council. We have made convincing arguments from the get-go that we should have 9 pickleball courts in Beach Haven. And I'm talking as someone that started pickleball in Beach Haven. I started playing on the grade school courts when we lined the courts, and I've seen the growth and the desire of people to want to play and love the sport that we all do. I just find it unbelievable, the short-sightedness of this town council. And I truly believe that the minds were made up even before we got to this point, that we were not going to get 9 courts. I can't tell you how upset I am. I have been playing pickleball on LBI for probably 5 years. Like I said, I was one of the founding people in Beach Haven to play pickleball. And for this town council, for the sake of $20,000, and I think it was $20,000 if I'm not mistaken, to make this decision not to go to 9. And you think that these neighbors that are complaining about noise are going to not complain about noise with 6 courts versus 9 courts? I just find this unbelievable, the thinking and the process that you've gone through to make this decision. And Dan, I got to admit to you, I think you're the ultimate waffler. I can't believe that you didn't actually even vote on what your feelings were on this. You just basically said, well, guess what? I guess it's going to go no. So I'm going to just vote no, after we've made convincing arguments from day one that 9 courts are needed and not 6 courts. So you know what? I'm going to conclude my remarks by saying, I don't think I'm going to step foot in Beach Haven this summer. I'll play someplace else, even though I love Beach Haven, but I think I am so furious about this decision that I don't even think I'm going to go to Nelson Avenue this summer. I'll find someplace else to play, because I think the short-sightedness on this council is just unbelievable. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Anyone else like to speak to this or any topic of Beach Haven? This is public comment for all topics. Margie McGlynn, unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Margie McGlynn, 122 Fairview Avenue in Beach Haven. I'd also like to thank Nancy and Sherry for all of their support and passion around this, as well as Lynn and Fuzzy, who really led the effort to pull together the members of the community. And I'd like to thank the members of the community who not only advocated, who not only signed on to how many of these meetings I can't even count, but who stepped up and made financial contributions so that Beach Haven could make the best decision on behalf of its residents without having financial implications. I was extremely proud of everyone in the community, and it shows what these people are really made of. Obviously, I'm very disappointed in the decision. I disagree with the decision, as I don't believe it's in the best interests of Beach Haven. And let's go back to the discussion we had, I think it was 2 meetings ago, about the fishing tournament and just the enthusiasm and the excitement. We really need our council to find a way to do that about pickleball. And the council, in my mind, made this decision based upon unverified concerns. Concerns about noise, concerns about parking, concerns about traffic. You've heard this before, and I can tell you because I chair the pickleball committee at Little Egg, and I would hear it if there were complaints. I'm there just about every day. We've not had one complaint from neighbors about pickleball at Little Egg. So did anyone in the council go inside the homes to see through the walls? Do you actually hear? Did anyone go and do an assessment of parking and traffic? Did anyone ask experts who have installed these sound barriers and pickleball ambassadors? And, Carla knows who they are, that could tell us how well they reduce the noise. And the point's already been made. We're going to have those barriers. Who's to say that 9 is going to be any different than 6? And so, I would end with, I have zero expectation you're going to change your decision. I think you should, but I don't think you will short term. If Colleen is really sincere about let's do 6 and see what happens, then I would recommend that we build the 6 in a way that 3 more could be added without messing up the footprint, requiring tearing everything up and starting over, and that we have very clear metrics in place and assessment in place to see, do we actually have those issues that are causing the council to vote against this? I also agree we should line the tennis courts and share that asset. If not, we're going to be there taking photos of how empty they are and posting them all over town and on web page, Facebook, etc., comparing that to pickleball. And we've got portable nets. So anyway, my number one recommendation is have a plan in place that would lead us to 9 in the future.
Thanks, Margie. Any other member of the public like to speak during this public comment session? Please raise an electronic hand. You can find that under your participants tab or your reactions tab. If you're on a regular phone, you can *6 and announce yourself. Nicole Baxter, you can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Nicole Baxter, 408 5th Street and 309 Center Street in Beach Haven. I feel bad just because this meeting's gone so long, but I just had a quick question. I was hoping I could get some clarification or some insight on the fire whistle. I know it's off topic from the pickleball and everything, so I apologize if it's not an appropriate time, but
yeah, I can speak to that, Nicole.
Excuse me?
I can speak to that. Go ahead.
Thanks. Just because Barry and I used to live above Barry's, and that fire whistle, when I had James, my son's 8 now, and I have tenants in there, that fire whistle is really, really loud. And so I had heard something today. Is there about what's happening with the fire whistle? And is there any way we can kind of change some of that going forward just to reduce? I mean, it's very loud.
So the council approved $45,000 in the most recent capital budget. It's $15,000 per siren. We have 3 sirens to be replaced. So we did budget for that. We're in the process of getting quotes for the change from the old sirens to the new. We recently met with the fire company and they suddenly had changed their opinion on it. We're saying that, when we get the new sirens, they were not considering turning them off, that they were rather considering turning them down a few decibels, but that really wasn't the agreement that we had from the get-go. So we're still negotiating with them, but the purchase is in the works. We're going to be replacing the sirens with the new digital sirens that can be controlled electronically. So they will be able to be turned down, turned off, to siren to those plectronics. So it's happening as we speak.
Oh, and that's great. I mean, even when I'm outside trying to talk to a customer and that whistle goes off, we have to stop. You can't even have a conversation. So, I mean, and then back in the day when I was like, oh my God, my son's asleep, they said to me that we didn't really have a lot of control over it because it was a county-based thing. So now, is this really going to have some opportunity to really not be going off in the middle of the night? And
that's the goal.
Okay,
that's
great.
The goal for the borough as well.
All right, that's great news, I feel.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Sure. Dan Roberts. 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Stacy. Dan Roberts, 2209 South Bay Avenue, Beach Haven. I've been a practicing attorney for about 30 years. I've appeared before courts all over the state. When I appear before a court knowing that I am going to lose, you still go and you make the arguments anyway. We have been coming before this council for over a year in an attempt to get something which is more than justified. And at every turn, we have been turned away. Every time we come up with a solution, we are turned away. There is no traffic problem, none, zero. It's unsubstantiated and unsupported. There is no parking problem. None. Never has anyone been denied a parking place. There is plenty of parking. And as to the noise problem, which allegedly exists, I respectfully submit it does not. There is not a noise problem. And if you think that the difference between 6 courts and 9 courts and the noise that's going to be produced is going to be any different, you're fooling yourselves. And you already you're putting in the noise barriers. You're talking about an additional 3 games that would be going on the 3 additional courts, which would basically be an additional 12 people playing. Any noise that would be produced in that respect would be negligible. On numerous occasions, we invited members of the council to come and see the noise for themselves. And quite honestly, I don't ever remember seeing anybody there. You might have been there, but I don't remember seeing anyone come down to actually experience it. Me and other members of the community went and stood by the neighbors' houses that were complaining. And quite honestly, they were far enough away that the noise in and of itself was negligible. Basketball is much, much louder than pickleball could ever be. I just fail to understand the short side in this respect. I said over a year ago, and I've repeated myself, I have said that if I offered to pay for these courts myself, you would find a reason to say no. And here we are. We came up with almost $30,000. If we came up with another $30,000, could we have the 9 courts? I'm asking.
We're just commenting right now, Dan.
Okay, but I'd really like to know. If we came up with another 30,000, is it really a money question? Or is it just a question of satisfying those few people? And as far as we know, we've never seen any of those people appear before the council and let their feelings be known. We know that there's communication going on, but none of them have ever come before the council in a public forum and said, this is the problem. We don't really know what their problems are.
That's time, Dan.
Okay, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks, Dan. Bonnie?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Bonnie. State your name.
Hi, Bonnie Lenhard, 115 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven. I'm a pickleball player. I love the sport. I would really like to thank Nancy and Sherry for their support for 9 courts. I also find it very short-sightedness on the council's part in voting negative against the 9 courts. Somebody is very concerned about the noise, about the additional number of people that will be playing on 9 courts. What is a park for? Isn't it for people to go there and use it? So are you saying that any park that has houses around it cannot engage in an activity that produces noise? That kind of defeats the whole purpose of a park. So again, I'm very disappointed in the council's decision. I understand this is a young council, and this was a big thing that was presented to them early on, but I'm really surprised that they went and were concerned about a few people that presented noise issues when there were over 200 people that live in Beach Haven that pay taxes that they disregarded. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Any other public comment? Seeing none.
Okay, if there are no more public comments, I'm going to close the floor to public comments at this time. And I guess we go to the final remarks by council.
We just had 2 hands pop up. Are you willing to hear them, Colleen?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Sarah Stillwell, you can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record. 3 minutes, please.
Hi, Sarah Stillwell, 277 Georgetown Road, Columbus, New Jersey. I just had a question. Are the market locations, craft and or farm markets still to be discussed, or have you decided?
I believe the farmers markets will remain at Walsh. And right now, the other events will also remain at Walsh with the COVID requirements and the possibility that the Surf Light will be utilizing the park there. We're going to remain at Walsh.
Okay. Also, I did want to make another comment about that. Many times when we are along the street there, you know, not inside the field, the farmer's market, I mean, because there's just been 3 vendors. But where our farm is located, it's closest to the corner. And many times when we get there, there are low spots that after a rain and it's already, I try to be very sensitive to wearing out the grass. And so we put our tents up a couple feet forward or a couple feet back so that most of the traffic pathways are in different, but I do just want to let you know that sometimes when we arrive, you can see those low spots where the water has subsided, you know, maybe after a fresh rain, and there's not much grass in those places, but I do try to move it around so that there's as, you know, little grass damage as possible. But you think for now it is going to be at Walsh Field again this year?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Brenda Swissman, can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, it's Steve Swissman, 406 Nelson Avenue, Beach Haven.
Go ahead.
I first want to thank Nancy and Sherry for the support of the pickleball courts. About a year ago, my wife and I attended a meeting. I don't know if it was open to all the neighbors on Nelson Avenue and or Maryville Avenue, but I felt there were 3 neighbors there that had objections to the pickleball. I spoke that night and told the council that we should have a lock. The people that are coming early to play pickleball, that could be solved to help the neighbors with their complaints. We understood of people starting before the starting time. That could easily be resolved. Okay, you guys agreed with me. The other thing about the fees, what we're charging the public for the daily fee is too low. Jamie said she agreed with me and they would look into that. Has anybody looked at the revenue projections of what our fees are compared to the other towns? It's way too low. If this is a money issue, we could easily get that from the fees we charge. I think your minds were made up way before this. Why weren't the people on Maryville and the surrounding blocks invited to that meeting? It was just the 3 disgruntled neighbors, which they had some arguments. We never met with them. We could have had a meeting, established a committee and solved their complaints. This is a shame. My wife and I built a house. We're paying a lot of taxes. If I had to do it over again, I would have never built a house. We did it because of the pickleball community, the friends we met, and this is a shame. And that's all I have to say. I've been holding this in for a long time. I think your minds were made up way before this. Okay, and have a good evening, and thank you for the people that supported us.
Thank you, Steve. All right, let's wrap it up then. We'll close the floor. Go ahead, Colleen.
Okay, I know our minds weren't made up. At least mine certainly wasn't. And I did a lot of due diligence. And I know you don't want to hear that and you don't believe it, but that is the truth. Your arguments were very persuasive, excuse me. And as I said, and Rhea, no, I am looking down the road. And yes, I did call about the sound barriers. When I spoke to the sound barrier rep, of course, he told me they were the greatest thing since sliced bread and they're going to work miracles. I then spoke to somebody in a community that had them out in California, actually. And he said, yes, they do actually help, but they're not the be all end all. And before I went ahead with 9 courts, I wanted to see what this looked like with 6 courts. I also considered asking you to use green paddles. When that came up last year, it was vehemently no, they're not regulation. They shouldn't be used. We can't use them. I do think going forward, there may be a way to make it work, but I am not going to do that until I am sure that we can have some kind of compromise, because I do feel it's an issue. And I'm sorry you're disappointed. You were not disregarded. This was a very difficult decision. And hopefully now, we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Who would you like next, Colleen?
Anybody else want to jump in next?
I will. These are final remarks by council. Number one, I'm very disappointed in the pickleball situation, and I understand. I want to thank all of you out there that worked so hard to donate that money and showed such commitment to the town. And I hope you don't decide to ditch Beach Haven. It is a great town, and there are many of us that are involved in the town that fought to have this occur. So things can change. I also want to mention that I also would like to say it wasn't the fault of the old council. We worked as fast as we could to get these things in. The bids came in, they were way too high. We had a lot of problems. Basically, unfortunately, we should have started 2 years ago. But it really was this past summer that we realized in what bad shape the courts were in. And it takes a long time to get things to happen. I'd like to also, I'm seeing a lot of emails from people that are upset with the proposed turbines offshore. And I would just like to tell you guys that if you're upset, write to the governor or write to your congressman, write to Diane Gove and Chris Connor and Brian Ruff, and write to the governor. We have very little that this is out of our control. We can try to work with the people to have them moved out farther, to get less windmills, but we don't have a lot of control over this. So send the letters to the right people. That'll get you farther. Also, you do have to consider that there is a issue with the increase in carbon that we're producing, and somewhere along the line, we have to come up with a solution to reduce the carbon footprint, or probably in a couple hundred years, there will be no humans left on this planet. But anyway, those are my final thoughts, and see you in about a week. Bye.
Thanks, Nance. Any other final remarks from council?
I'll go next. I'm kind of at a loss after being here in
Yeah.
the remarks coming back towards us on this decision. The one takeaway that I got from it is, our minds were made up. Mine wasn't. It wasn't. And Mr. Miller, you were, very, very, got my attention very greatly. This is probably the one decision since I've been on council that's been the hardest. That's talking Morrison's, that's talking a lot of other big projects. I've lost sleep over this. I've received multiple emails on both sides of the situation. And yes, I was firmly on the fence, completely and totally. Mr. Lombell, on the other hand, brought up an excellent suggestion to see if we couldn't find a way to possibly find a way for the tennis community and the pickleball community to split mornings so that we can reline some of those courts, because it always seemed like a natural to me. But I know, both sports are played in the morning and both sports are very passionate about their respective sports. But, hopefully maybe we can find a middle ground. That's my sincere hope. Outside of that, this had to be probably the hardest and least favorite topic, and I probably won't sleep well for a little while about this. So that's probably all I have to say.
Thanks, Dan. Who's left?
I can speak. So, yeah, definitely a hard decision. My mind was not made up, I will tell you, as of last week. But I spent, as I said in my statement, multiple hours researching both the pros and cons of pickleball, sound, coverage, all congestion, listening to both pickleball. I received multiple emails for and against, as I said. But my decision is on 6, and I'm sticking with that. So I apologize for upsetting some 200 residents, I believe, and probably some more people who come here to play. But I also polled people who do not even play in town, who are full-time residents here. And their decision was for just to maintain what was there, to redo what is there, 6. So just so you know, it's not just the pickleball community that runs the town of Beach Haven. So I also would like to just encourage you all to get excited about these upcoming craft fairs and the farmers market. I'm excited about seeing summertime activities return soon. So that's it. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chris. Amy?
Yeah, so this was an extremely difficult meeting for all of the council. We never want to disappoint anyone, but at the end of the day, you know, Beach Haven is a community with different residents in different neighborhoods. And I felt that I did my due diligence and my research and made the best decision for both the pickleball community and the residents of Nelson and within the Nelson Park area. You know, sometimes people will not speak publicly because it is, you know, very intimidating to speak, especially when the group is so passionate, like the pickleball community. So I think that would answer your question of why you're not seeing a lot of these residents open. I see them on here, but they're not going to be openly vocal because it is intimidating to them. So as far as Nancy was stating also about the wind turbines, please reach out to your both county and state representatives because they have a little bit more pull than us. We really don't have a say in where they go. I do have a lot of information. Residents have reached out to me and I have a whole draft up where I can lead you to the information of how this began, where it is, and you know, I can send that to you if you would like that as well. But this isn't a topic that's over for discussion. It's continuous. I mean, it's going to be continuing until, you know, 2035 and beyond. So please keep your emails coming to me and I can always, you know, forward them where they necessarily have to go. But other than that, that's all I have to say tonight.
Okay, if that concludes the final remarks by council, I think. All right, then I would like to make a motion to adjourn. Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.